And welcome back to another Polls and Pickups, the show where I show off my pickups for that particular week, comic pickups, and tell you guys what I've been thinking of last week's issues and so forth, and this week's issues, or that week's issues if I remember. But it's also the show where I give a million excuses or explanations as to why the video was too long, or it was too short, or it didn't come out that week, or whatever. And I can only say sorry so many times. I am sorry, but there are sacrifices I have to make in terms of my time and, whether I should put out a video or whether I should do homework or whether I should, feed my cat and, take care of my grandparent or whatever, right? So I have a limited amount of time. And then there was also those Punisher videos I was putting out, and my laptop, actually, I got Clorox on it and the keyboard went kaput, so I had to take it into the shop, and it's still there currently. So that's the main thing that's set behind this video. But I got a lot to show you, so hopefully, something's better than nothing, right? This is X-Men Legends. I love that cover there. Quite cool. X-Men Legends is a throwback series that's starting, and hopefully it won't just end early. Series nowadays seem like they're getting shorter and shorter. Well, they are getting shorter and shorter, but hopefully we get a lot more of this, because what I like what's here. I wasn't as blown away as I thought I was. It wasn't as I get too hyped for things. I try not to, and I don't always for certain things, but for this I was looking at solicitations for this, and was looking forward to it, and it was good, but it wasn't as breathtaking. It wasn't breathtaking or really groundbreaking, but it was good. So the question is, what is it? First off, so like I said, it's a throwback issue, and Hickman, his X-Men books, and he doesn't head up all of them, but I mean, like, I think they're under his editorial. His editorial guidelines, I thought. But either way, the point is, that whole line of X-Men, the current line of X-Men, is known as Hickman's X-Men, and to differentiate it from other past X-Men lines. And it's quite controversial because of certain differences they made, and I'm not a fan of it, and some people aren't. I'm in the minority, though. But this minority has been growing in size, and this book seems to want to remedy and kind of, I don't know about remedy, but it seems to want to try and satisfy or satiate the people like me that aren't a fan of the current X-Men books and are looking for something else. This is trying to take inspiration from Jim Lee's work and 90s kind of X-Men style, and you can automatically tell that already with the artwork. There's a lot more muscle tone and kind of over exaggerated like muscle and detail on certain things, and details in terms of anatomy, and the colors have this kind of more vibrant look in comparison to, and more kind of the shading is more cartoony and more cell shaded. It's not cell shaded, but it's more cell shaded than, say, modern comics, and that I like to begin with. Like, the spread is just great. But the writing also is similar. The writing's definitely different than Hickman's X-Men, and it's not even involved at all. It's set, decades before. It's set in the 90s, I think. Late 80s? I think it's set in the 90s. I forget. And yeah, I think so. And the writing is similar as well. So you'll get... I've complained in the past, multiple times now, I think, about there not being as much text boxes explaining past things that won't make sense to people that are new readers. So, something in the past for issues long ago, you would get little text boxes that would explain certain details about what's going on, and that would allow newcomers to, or people that aren't following the book as commonly, they'd be able to tell what's going on and get small little details. So, well, that's just telling you what language they're speaking. So that's not really a good example, but And that's found in this book. And that really, there's not as many, you could say, as some books from the past. They could still, there's still some room for improvement, but I was really happy when I saw that they're actually gonna, oh, you don't know who this one villain is? Oh, well, because this isn't like a new start. This takes place, carries on different story arcs from runs from the 90s. That's kind of the whole thing about X-Men Legends. It's going back to legacy stories and is basically kind of continuing them. And this first arc is about the Summers brothers and the Summers family, basically. And without giving too much away, I mean, you kind of already, I'm not gonna go into details. And I read it a while back, so I've forgotten some of the more hairy details, I guess you could say. But yeah, the art was the main thing that got me, and the writing's good. The writing's a lot more similar to X-Men back in the day. It's not great. It's not to the same standard as some of the real classic writers, but it's, I haven't read enough of older X-Men titles to say for sure, but it seems to not be to the same class, but it's still good for sure. And in my opinion, a step up from the different titles that we've seen over the past few years in terms of X-Men. And the main issue I have, though, is that even with those text boxes explaining certain details, and even with the story seemed like it was very quick to end, if that makes any sense. It was very brisk, and that was good because it was fast paced. I mean, there was a lot of action and a lot going on. But for an first issue, I know it's continuing story arcs from prior, but it's not as newbie friendly as I had hoped. Seeing that it was an issue 1, seeing that it was a issue from. Here's another one of those text boxes I was speaking about that explain that explain small details and things that you might not know otherwise, and editor notes and things of that nature. And it's not as newcomer friendly as I had hoped. It's not as complicated, and one of my issues with Hickman's X-Men, I almost think it was too convoluted. There was a lot going on the surface, but underlying under the hood, it seemed as if, as I read through more and more of the Hickman line, it seemed like there was less and less reason for as much to be going on as there was. You'd get those text pages. I forget what they're called. Data sheets, is that what they call them? And it's basically just an exposition dump. People, if you like it, you like it. That's fine. But in my opinion, having a page dedicated to nothing but text explaining what's going on isn't good writing. And you can disagree. That's perfectly fine. Everybody's subject to their own opinions. And I think it reminds me more of a novel in that sense. And I think that there was some interesting things going on in those data sheets. But personally, I would have preferred if we saw what was going on in those data sheets, and we saw those over a period of multiple issues. Hickman's X-Men books are able to cover a lot of ground in a faster rate because they do things like that. But in turn, I think it's a harder reading experience for someone like me, because I'm not dedicated to X-Men to the point where I want to sit through those kind of things. I really want to experience what they're talking about. I want to see what they talk about things from the past. I want to see those things. I don't want to have to sit and read through a wall of text that explains something. I want to see what's going on. I want to experience it firsthand. And the writing is a step up here, but at the same time, you still kind of, that was kind of a tangent I went on, but the writing still could use some work here, and it's not as newbie friendly as I had hoped. It was, like I said with this, it was almost too fast. I think they almost should have that was my point I was trying to make. Hickman's X-Men seems as if they give you too much time to breathe. They give you too much to chew on at once, and this, it feels like it's not that they don't give you enough to chew on, but it's as if they give you what you're asking for, and then they give you more, and then they hurried up, and then they want to get you out of the restaurant and get somebody else new in. I don't know. My expression is coming across, but I wish this issue was longer. I wish they waited to put this out, and they almost, it feels like it would read better in a trade or something, because as a single issue, it gives you a lot, but it feels like it's still not enough. And sure, that's because I want more, right? But at the same time, the top class comics, this doesn't have to be top class, but there's something to be said about a comic that's able to both leave you wanting more and is able to leave you satiated at the same time. It's, it leaves you feeling full, like you experienced a real cool, a comic, but it also leaves you wanting more. That's like next level, and it's not able to do that. And I think it could have with not that many changes. So that's a good accolade in my opinion. It's good. It really is. But and I really like the art. That's the main takeaway. But there's certain things about the writing that I think if they stepped it up, this could potentially be next level in terms of like really enjoying it. I only enjoyed this. I could really enjoy this later down the line with the next few issues if they step it up, and that's good, right? I have high hopes. So next up we have Thor issue 12. Thor issue 12 I also read, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on here. This issue was similar in a sense where I almost think that there was the Thor series. This is part four of 6 in the Prey series. This follows Donald Blake, and he's, as I was talking about prior, just to recap what's going on here real quick. Donald Blake was trapped in basically a pocket dimension made by Odin, and Donald Blake was the alter ego of Thor back in the day. He was his human form, so to speak, but his human form was then separated from Thor and was trapped in a pocket dimension made by Odin, and he basically existed in his own kind of representation of the world that he was in, and that allowed Thor to be on his own and exist in the real world and on Midgard, right? It allowed Thor to live and interact on Midgard while also not needing to turn back into Donald Blake, and Donald Blake to be there and not feel like he had his powers taken from him or whatever. He was set aside in like a copy of Earth. It was very weird, kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, and I don't know if I explained that exactly right, but I think that's from my understanding. It's a little confusing, but after he was driven mad from being left there for so long, he realized basically the truth of this situation, and that his whole life that he's been living for, however long, I don't know, eternity, whatever, in this other dimension. I don't know, eternity, however long he was living in this other dimension. Once he realized that it was fake, he was slowly driven mad, and basically once he got out and trapped, swapped, and Thor was in his place, and he got into, our world, our dimension or whatever. He after that, since he was so crazy at that point, he swore a vendetta to kill anyone to get back at Odin, swore to kill anyone that Odin had bestowed power upon, and also anybody that gets in the way, basically. So all the different Thors and people that had been Thor at one point and so forth. So people different on Asgard, the different friends of Thor that got in the way he got, and he fights Beta Ray Bill, and then he goes to Midgard and finds Jane Foster and figures out that she was once Thor at one point, but can't bring himself to actually do anything to her yet. But that's kind of the thing, like, he was once with Jane Foster. Jane Foster was once his love interest. So is he so whacked out of his mind, so to speak? Is he so crazy that he's going to, kill someone that he once loved? I don't know. That's kind of the drama there. But he goes and he fights Throg, which is Thor, a frog that has been bestowed with the powers of Thor, part of the Pet Avengers, and he fights him and his doggo friend. In a very cool scene here, you can see the colors are just, popping off the page there, and it's quite entertaining. And he swallows Throg, and Throg throws beats him up in his stomach, and then throws the hammer, Mjolnir or whatever, out of his mouth, as you can see, and then it flies back around and hits him in the stomach, which gets him out of his stomach, just crazy. And after this scene was great, but it felt so short. And you go to the next scene, and you have Jane Foster, and she's figures out what's going on with Throg and the doggo friend. I don't know his name; doesn't really matter. And then you figure out that that Donald Blake was also fighting Doctor Strange, and Jane Foster and Doctor Strange basically come into contact, and there's a lot going on but at the same time there's also, I don't want to say there's too little going on, but we already knew Donald Blake was crazy. We already knew he was on a vendetta to kill people, and we get to see that in this issue, but it almost felt, I don't know. I liked the issue. I do. I really did. But I don't want to understate that. But it almost felt like I almost kind of wish things slowed down a bit and we got more dialogue between the characters, because I legitimately actually like the characters. In some comics and other series, I'm saying, get to the action. But in this, it was almost like, okay, we already know he's doing all this. It's cool that you're showing us him fighting everybody, but if we're limited to only 30 something pages, minus ads and stuff, if we're so limited in the amount of pages we have, then why I liked having action, right? There needs to be action, but I wish there was less pages dwelt on all this. And I wish there was just more pages, basically. I don't know. That's more of a issue with the monthly format. I don't know. That's interesting, because as I'm reading these and picking these up monthly, certain stories do work weekly, monthly, and I'm excited to pick them up, and it's I'm excited to pick most of these up. But then certain stories don't seem to work as well in the monthly format, and certain ones do. And this issue almost felt like there was not enough of something. There was a lot of action, but it was so brisk, and there was so much dwelt on kind of nonstop action that I kind of felt it wasn't paced out that well. I almost felt kind of tired by the end of it. And there's a cool reveal at the end. I mean, I've kind of spoiled this issue. I'll put a little tag if I can. I mean, I don't have my laptop to edit it, so I'm going to have to do my best to try and, I guess, put it in the timestamps or whatever. But Odin, it wasn't talked about. I'm pretty sure early on it wasn't talked about what happened to Odin, but something happened to Odin, and Thor took his place as king of Asgard. And I assumed he died. That's just what my mind painted. And then I saw him and was like, wait, he didn't die? So I had to Google it. No, he didn't die. He was just gone, and they didn't, as far as I know, they didn't explain it, I don't think. But the way they spoke about him, at least from when I Googled it, I should have kind of caught on that he hadn't have died. But whatever, he's alive, and basically the hook for the next issue is they're going to need to have Odin help fight Donald Blake. Jane Foster is, and they're going to need someone big. They're going to need somebody powerful. They're going to need someone that's going to be able to match or be more powerful than Donald Blake at this point, because each person, by the way, each person that he kills, he gains those powers or gets their, increases his power. I don't know if he gets their powers or his powers just increase, but whatever. Anyways, he keeps growing stronger and stronger, and they need someone that can stop him. And Odin seems like he's one of the only people that Jane Foster can get that can actually stop him. So that's really cool, and it'll be cool to see what actually happened to him, why he's sitting in some bar on some distant planet somewhere, and why he's not king of Asgard anymore, and what's with the beard, man? The way the beard looks. Anyways, so that was Thor issue 12. It was good for sure. But, I told you kind of what I was thinking, what I thought of it. And moving on, The Walking Dead. Yeah. The Walking Dead Deluxe is a new series that started in, I think it was October of 2020, and these are being released bi-monthly, twice a month, every 2 weeks or so, and they're recolorations of the original Walking Dead. The original Walking Dead was like 150, 190, something like that. I think it was like 190 something. Crazy long run, right? It ran for close to 20 years. It was, 17 years, something like that. Anyways, and ended just recently. So they're now going through and going to recolor every single issue. And spoilers, I guess, if you're going to read the text, and certain aspects of the panel work is going to be spoilers. And I didn't really say spoilers for X-Men Legends, and I only said spoilers for Thor at the end, but I'm going to add tags for this. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, if you want to read The Walking Dead, which you should, pick up these. I was reading on Comixology. You can get these issues for you can read these issues for free if you subscribe to Comixology. And Comixology actually is offering it's actually offering a free month subscription. And if you cancel it before then, you can basically read all of The Walking Dead. I think all of it's on there. You can read all of The Walking Dead for free, basically. And what I'm doing is I read up to the issues that I could find in the store. I could only find 8, 9, and 10. 10 came out just like a little while back. No, I think it was last week when it came out. I forget. Anyways, and I can only find up to 8, 8, 9, and 10. So, and 11's next week, I think. Anyways, so I'll be covering these, but without spoilers. Yeah, if you want to read The Walking Dead, which you should, give it a shot. You can give it a shot for free on Comixology right now. And you can you can do what I did and read up to whatever you can find. Like if your comic shop, has 7, 8, 9, 10, then read up to 7, then pick up 7, 8, 9, 10 in color. And then I'm going to go back actually and pick up the other issues that I read on Comixology in color later through the deluxe, as deluxe issues. But, so I could hop right into it right now. And so I wouldn't have to worry about, hurrying to try and pick up those back issues. I just read it through Comixology, or just read the whole series through that. It's really good. I highly recommend it. I'm going to try and flip through some of the back. These are alternative covers back here. There's a lot of extras in these issues, and I'm really digging it. Digging the series, digging the format. It's great, man. You gotta read it. I haven't actually watched the show. I've been wanting to, but now if you've seen the show and I've read the comics, should I, if I'm reading comics and I'm still really early in, should I actually watch the show, or should I wait until I'm done reading comics, or what? Tell me in the comments below, and just in general, tell me what you think of The Walking Dead, comics show, otherwise. I'd love to talk to you guys about that, or anything I show in this video. And yeah, I'm liking this format. Besides being in color, it's nice because they have the alternative covers printed here in the back. Got a whole page dedicated to each cover, and then you got the cutting room floor, which tells you basically notes about what was changed in the issue, and little bits of little glimpses into the development and writing of each issue, which is really cool. And look at all these letter pages. You got all these letters that were all printed. You got all these letters that were all printed here. I don't know if it's really a spoiler if you can't, if you don't really know the context, but I'm covering it anyways. And you got tons of letters as well here, and it's all great and nice. I like that Image does this. This is like these are like the first new Image comics I think I've gotten so far, but I like this kind of hard, kind of tougher kind of covers, as opposed to kind of the classic, just kind of it's like twice as thick as a normal page, it's glossy, or just as thick as a normal page. This is like, it feels more substantial. There's no ads or anything in it. The pages are thicker than normal. Pick these up, man. They're great. Getting into spoilers though, warning, spoilers. Rick is speaking to his wife about how she just revealed in the last issue that she's pregnant at the end, and that they're talking about kind of the consequences of that for the party, because it's the zombie apocalypse. What a worse time. Is there a worse time to have a kid, right? Besides being part of being in the time of the Spartans, or being part of the Spartan Empire. There's not really much of a worse time to have a kid, really. And then Rick goes off and talks to what's his name? Dale, there you go. Talks to Dale about the whole situation, and kind of there's good reason for them to believe that his wife cheated on him, that Rick's wife cheated on him, and he's basically kind of he's very on edge from a lot of events that happened prior, and he knows that this is going to set him off send him over the edge if it's true, and he basically is denying that it can be true, knowingly, because he just can't deal with the idea. He can't wrestle with the idea that you know, after all this, after all the stuff he's been through in terms of, you know, cracking away at the fibers of his sanity, the last thing he wants is to know that his wife cheated on him and that his kid is going to not be his. So, and then you can see that snowfall has hit, or I mean, it hit before, but the snow's really packed in and such, and you got some cool art here, and or some cool, I guess it's like color work. That's the thing. Like when I started off, their first artist that actually did The Walking Dead, the one that didn't, most of The Walking Dead, like almost all of it was done by one artist, but he actually didn't do the book until issue, I think it was like 6. No, until issue 7, I think. 6 was the last one with the first artist, and I actually preferred his art. It was, in my personal opinion here, it's a little, like, look at his eyes. It's a little derpy, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I don't know. It's a little weird. I'm not crazy about the art, in just art on its own, but I like the colors. I like certain other aspects of it. I guess the part I don't like is I think there should be more detail, and I kind of don't like the kind of simplistic work with mostly the faces and things like that, certain things in the body. But I think long, wider shots like this look cool. Like this, just on its own, if it was cropped off, that looks like something you would see out of like a like a Christmas special of some kind. Not The Walking Dead. Yeah. The weather doesn't make you think of zombies, but that's perfectly fine. I love the snow, but I just kind of saying that the look on its own, if it was something else, would work, but for The Walking Dead, I don't know if I exactly like it. It'll grow on me, I think. The first artist I didn't really care for either, that did 1 through 6, but I actually started to really like his art over time, because I think that for what it lacked also in detail, I think it made up for it in its shadowing. And this has good shadowing too. I mean, it's not bad, but I think it was a step down. And I know that's not a popular opinion at all. Again, just like with X-Men, if you have a different opinion, tell me below and tell me why you think that. I'd love to have a discussion about it, because, that's fun, right? I want to keep the conversation going. People can have different thoughts. But yeah, I don't think either artist is that spectacular, in my opinion, for me, what I like, judged by my taste. But and I think this artist is slightly not as good as the one prior, but I'm still enjoying it. I like aspects of it. And this is some cool shots right here. And basically, they find a community, as you saw prior, as I was focusing on that shot. They find a community that's just filled with houses, and they're going to, raid it and hope that they can find tons of goods there and not run into a lot of zombies. And the Westshire Estates. And once they get into some houses, they did come across some zombies, but overall, you'll see that there's quite a bit of supplies that they come across. And they decide that they're going to stay here, and that things are looking up for them in comparison to the last few issues. They lost some party members. Things were pretty hairy, but here they really, that they found a lot of supplies. They found a lot of houses that they can stay at, and so forth. And towards the end here, you see some certain character dynamics, and a talk between Rick and his wife, and you see that some characters that you met prior are shacking up, so to speak. And but then it ends. That's the spoiler. The big kind of wow. All dead, do not enter. Yeah. So everybody left this estate, and I suppose it's been taken over by zombies basically. And in the next issue, it's like, as you imagine, crap hits the fan, and it's just total chaos. So moving on to the next issue, the covers fitting. I like these new covers here. They weren't the originals. The original cover for this was, I think it's back here, or maybe it's not. These are all the new covers. Yeah, I don't think it had. Oh yeah, this was the original cover. I think so. Yeah, original cover. Yeah. So this was the original cover, and then this is the kind of redone version here for this deluxe edition. I really like this one, and the original cover for this was quite different This was your original cover. Pretty cool. But this I really like. It's not as colorful or anything, but I like the detail here, and it reminds me almost like a wallpaper. I was talking about that to my mother, and I think even though there's not all the different little like facial, there's not a lot of color, but all the little facial details and the helmet that someone has on and all those little details kind of add texture to it. And all the texture reminds me of like bark on a tree or something. It's quite cool. And you see that they wake up in the Westshire estates, and everything seems good. You get some more character kind of dynamics and dichotomies and so forth, I guess you would say, just characters interacting and they're them growing on you, and you get to see more aspects of them, I should say. And they get out of their house and realize that the place is basically overran with the dead. He sees the sign and he runs back, and yeah, the crap hits the fan. People are attacked, shootouts are engaged. The husband is freaking out because his wife was just basically, or was chopped down on, became lunch for, or brunch for that zombie you just saw. And they have to basically rush out of the estate as fast as they can and get out, basically. And it's sad, but it's cool because it's like, you can never have things in a drama like this, you can never have things too good. So you see, you were like, by the time before the last issue, before issue 8, things were really looking down. And then you got to issue 8 and you're like, wow, things are really going to things might look up for them. But then you're like, wait a minute, I'm reading The Walking Dead. So then by issue 9, things go back to their dreary selves. And I like that, though. It's a little sad, but, the things are get more interesting or things get better for them as well, though, in issue 10, which I'll talk about in a minute here. There's not a lot to talk about, though. They then are going by and looking for any kind of they're running out low on food, and they're cramped, and they really need supplies bad, basically. So they're looking around for supplies, and they decided they're going to stop here and go off hunting. Rick and I forget the guy's name here. I forget the guy's name here. But they both go off, Rick and the friend over here, and along with his son, and they go hunting. But more crap hits the fan. You always got to keep amping up the stakes here. And then, like, once again, you that's the thing about a drama, right? You want to constantly have that bomb underneath the table. Speaking of Alfred Hitchcock, you got to have that bomb constantly ticking down, and then right when it's diffused, you got to have a minute of levity. But then quickly following the levity, you got to have more stakes being set up and more being kind of more seeds being seeds being planted, so to speak, to then prosper more drama further in. And that's what you see here, right? You saw in issue 8. Issue 8 was the breather. And then in issue 9 here, more seeds are planted for certain relationship interactions and things. And you're like, yeah, certain things are going to go down. And the kid is the baby in the wife's womb is also kind of a pretty big seed that's going to pretty big seed, important seed that's going to prosper more drama further in, right? Think about all the labor pains she's going to have to go through and the different conditions that they're going to have to endure because she's pregnant and giving birth to the child and so forth. So that'll be cool. And then you also get to see some new things be thrown at you, like he's shot by a other hunter, and the hunter thought he was a zombie, and they meet up with him, and the drama, of course, is that the dad is going to kill him, and I can understand why. But thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, you know what to do, and if you didn't like it, you also know what to do. And tell me down below what I can improve on so I can improve and do better. This was quite a long one. It was actually going to be even longer, so I split it up into 2 parts, and that makes sense because it was actually 2 weeks worth of pickups. So last week's pickups video is this week's pickups video, and in a few days from now, you'll see this other half of this video, and it's this week's pickups, so it's kind of This mostly this week's pickups. So it's a little off there, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and aloha.